Good morning, crafty friends. Welcome back to another episode of Angela Shows You. Today, I thought that we would spend a little bit of time using some scrap fabric. I don't know about you, but I've got a huge bin of just scrap pieces of fabric that I was wondering what to do with. So, in doing a little bit of research, I am playing around a little bit too. I found these great little key holder. Um, you could probably even use these for, like a a badge too, like you're at work. If you've got a name badge or something, these would be great for that too. Or just keys. There's a key ring attached to the end of this. So these are pretty quick and easy to make, and they use just a really small amount of fabric and a piece of interfacing. So what I have gone ahead and done ahead of time is, so you're going to want two small pieces of fabric. You're going to cut both pieces 3 inches wide. One piece you're going to cut 7 inches long, and the other piece you're going to cut 4 inches long. So you're going to have pieces that are 7 by 3 and 4 by 3. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take those two pieces of fabric, you're going to put those two pieces of fabric right sides together, and you're going to sew them along this short edge. That will give you one long piece of fabric. So this is what we're going to be working with to make that key ring. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take that one long piece of fabric and you're going to fold it together, wrong sides together, and you're going to give it a press so that you have a nice seam in there. Then what you're going to do is you are going to take a piece of interfacing that you're going to cut. Now, I cut mine just shy of 1 inch. So what I did was, on my cutting mat, I so what I did was I had my piece, and I just used one of the 1 inch marker guides. So I just lined it up anywhere. And then what I did was, on the next inch, I cut just on the inside of the line for that inch. So I'm just shy of 1 inch. So that's how I did it, and I found that to be a little bit more consistent with getting just shy of 1 inch piece. And you want it to be 10 and a half, probably about 10 and a half, because so you've got a 7 and a 4, so that's 11 inches. So you're going to want your piece of interfacing to be a little bit less than 11 inches long. So maybe about 10 and a half to 10 and 3/4. Now you can also cut the pieces a little bit shorter than 7 by 4. You could do 6 by 4 as well. It really kind of just depends on how long, how big do you want this. If you want it to fit around your wrist, like how much extra space do you want? Because of course you want it, if you're gonna, use it for keys while you're out and about, then you want it to slide off your wrist, but not, you don't want it to fall off because you don't want to lose your keys. So you might want to just play with the measurements just a little bit to see what's going to be best for you. So then what you're going to do when you've got your interfacing that is going to be just a little bit shorter than the entire length of your piece. So whether you cut it 7 by 4 or 6 by 4. And the reason why is you just kind of want like that accent piece. So one piece is a little bit shorter than the other piece is. But you know, by all means, play around a little bit with your fabrics. You know, maybe you want to do 7 by 3, or you know, I mean, however you want your accent piece to be, you know, that's up to you. So then what you're going to do is you're going to take your two pieces that you've sewn together, and what you're going to want to do at that point is you're going to sew some creases in those. So I've got my iron all ready to go. So I already had sewn this in half, but now I've undone it a couple times, so we'll just make a new press. Okay, so you're gonna fold it in. Don't fold it all the way in half. Just take it just a little bit, maybe about a 1/4 inch or so, and press a crease in there, and then flip it over and do the same thing on the other side. You just want to press a little bit of a crease in your pieces of fabric. Then you're going to, now I'm using some scrap pieces, so I didn't have one long piece, so I cut two pieces that I'm going to just stick in here, and I'm going to keep it just a little bit away from the edge on both ends. I want it just a little bit away from the edge, and you'll see why in a minute. So then what you're going to do is, once you have those, fold it back so you've got yourself a little bit of a sandwich going on. And then what I like to do once more is give it one more press. This is giving it one more press like this is a good idea. Of course, if you're using fusible interfacing, you want to give it a press so that you activate that glue. Or if you're just using a different interfacing that's not fusible, that's fine as well. So then what I like to do is just to keep those pressed, hot, okay, is just put some clips in place. So then once you've got that all pressed, take a key ring and insert it in there, and then I just like to, so now you've got a key ring floating around in there. So I've got one more over here, so I'm going to do the same thing. Going to insert our key ring in there, and then we're just going to go ahead and clip that. I swear I ironed this, but it doesn't seem like it's got very nice creases. All right, so now you've got those pieces all done up. So the next step is going to be, so you took your piece of fabric, your 7 by 4 or whatever variation of that you want. Take them right sides together, sew on the short end. Then fold them in wrong sides together in half, make that crease. Then you're going to take each side, you're going to fold it in just a little bit, and you're going to make a crease on both sides. Stick your interfacing in there, and then press again and make nice creases, and then you're going to want to pin all that together to keep it in place. Put your key ring in there at some point. So now we've got, so then the next step that you're going to do is you're going to take, you're going to open up your two ends that you just pressed so nicely. We're going to open those back up, and we're going to open them, and we're going to put them right sides together. And this, I think, is kind of the most tedious part of it. So we're going to take those two short ends, and we're going to open all that back up, and we're going to line up those two edges just like this. And then what we're going to do is we're going to come over to our machine, and we're going to sew that, and that will give us like one continuous ring. And that's why we kind of wanted to keep So that's why I suggest keeping that interfacing just a hair away from the end. That way you don't have a whole ton of bulk up here. So then what you're going to want to do is we're going to fold all that back in. First, we want to open this seam up here. We want to flatten this out a little bit. So I just finger pressing it is just fine. You're going to just want to open that. You know, I press it firmly, give it a nice firm press, okay? Then we're going to fold everything back in. We're going to fold it all back in, and we're going to fold it back in half. And that's one other nice beauty about having nice pressed creases is everything just, it wants to fold back there because you pressed in a nice crease. So now we've got one continuous ring. Okay, we'll walk through that once more. We're going to open our two ends back up, open it completely up, it is a little bit of a challenge because everything's pressed, so everything wants to stay pressed closed. Line that up nice. Okay. Press that open with your fingers. And then fold everything back. Just like that. Now, I find that sometimes at these seams, you know, it is a little bit on the bulky side, so I like to arrange my clips so that it's got everything pinched shut. And use as many clips as I find clips on this project to work much better than pins. So take your whatever clip you use, Wonder Clips or whatever, you know, uh, clip that you're using, and just, and if you need, I only have 3 on here, but on this one I have like 5. So this one for some reason was giving me a little bit more grief. So then the next step, so now we've got our continuous circle, so to speak, that goes all the way around. So now our next step, my table got pushed all the way back, so my power cord to the sewing machine was up against the wall and it wasn't moving. Okay, so now our next step to get our thing finished is we're going to, so I've got black thread in my machine. So what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to start and stop my stitches on the black, because I'm going to reinforce them a little bit. So I'm going to stitch forward, I'm going to go back a stitch or 2. So I don't want all that extra thread, the black thread, showing on the white. So I'm going to start on my black section, and then it's gonna just be a matter of, you're gonna really just need to keep stopping and starting and moving, taking your pins, your clips out, excuse me, moving the hardware. And I am trying to sew kind of close to the edge, but being also, mindful. So you want to really make sure that your seams are lined up so that everything catches. Now see, this one is coming all unfolded again. So when we get there, all right, so we're just folding everything back in where it should be. Okay, almost back there to that starting point. Okay. All right, so there we go. We've got so now we're going to want to do the same thing on the other side. And this is also a nice step because it really does kind of help just put that, your interfacing. Even though it's ironed in there, this really just secures it in place. Okay, and we're just about back at our beginning. Okay, so all right, so there we go. We're almost done. So now the next step that you're going to want to do is, on this particular one, I kind of have the white paw prints as my accent piece. So I'm going to just take my key, and I bought these key rings on Amazon, and I got 1-inch key rings. These are 1-inch key rings. You could get a larger key ring, definitely. You know, if you want a 1.5-inch key ring, maybe, or even 2 inches. You know, it really just depends. I got 1 inch. They are actually kind of a little bit on the small side. So what you're going to want to do is take your pieces here, kind of, you know, line it up a little bit. All right, so now we've got our key ring at the end. So now the last step is just going to be to make one more stitch that will kind of lock that where it is. Voila. All done. Now I did cut, this one's a little bit shorter than this one is. So this one fits on my wrist. This one does, but it's a little more snug. So that's what I was talking about. So kind of depending on you know, who you're making these for, you might want to do, you know, kind of get an idea of the person's wrist size. So this one, I would probably be very hesitant to wear it out in public. It's not going to fall off, but if you're reaching for something or doing something, you know, this is going to come off much easier, where this one, I have to, you know, it's not going anywhere. Like, you notice this one, when I had it on my wrist, you know, a little bit of a shake and it comes off a lot easier than this one did. So that's it. Very, very quick, very easy. This video right now is 22 minutes, and we made a complete one, and we also went ahead and, you know, seamed up a couple other ones. So these are very, very quick and easy to make. The first couple, of course, are going to take a little bit longer, but as you make more, they definitely get a lot easier, and you know, they'll go by much quicker. Great thing to do with scrap fabric if you're making to sell. You know, keep all those scraps, because these are a great way to just maximize your yardage, you know, whatever scrap pieces that you have left over. Some stuff like this is a great thing to maximize your material and just get the, you know, the most for your money. These make, you know, they're great gift ideas. You could, of course, make them a little bit longer. If you wanted to use them as maybe a lanyard, you could make them, the same basic idea, you just would want to make it longer if you want to wear it around your neck. Or, you know, you might, instead of a key ring, you might get a lanyard ending and just have something short. You know, not everybody wears a lanyard around their neck. Some people carry it around, or you know, maybe you've got, when I used to work in my office, we had like a badge type thing that got us into our parking garage, and I just kind of always left that just floating around in my car. But you might get a lanyard end, one that's got the clip on it, and put your a parking garage thing on there, and that way it's got something longer like this, so that when you're getting to work in the morning or you're leaving in the afternoon, you don't have to find just that little piece of plastic. You have it on some sort of attachment that will help you just locate when, you know, you're trying to get into the garage, or you're trying to leave in the evening, and then you can just, you know, take your take your parking thing and just swipe it at the parking garage at the meter thing and get in and out quicker because you find it a little bit faster. So just a few different ideas of what you may want to use something like this for besides keys. I hope that you found this helpful, and like I said at the beginning, the measurements are just a kind of a rough guide. Make these as you could do them a little bit shorter, you could do them longer, you could do them long to make a necklace. You could do the same idea if you want to wear it as a necklace. Maybe you want to cut it just a little bit thinner. Maybe you don't want 3 inches. Maybe you would want to cut it 2.5 or maybe even 2 inches. And if you're doing it that way and you're wearing it as a necklace, maybe you don't put the interfacing in there. Maybe you just fold it in half, make your seams, sew along, and you would finish it off kind of in the same way. But you wouldn't, if you're going to wear it around your neck, maybe you don't want the interfacing because you don't want that extra stiffness. Not to mention it would add a level of difficulty to make it longer, narrower, and try to do the interfacing as well. But just a bunch of ideas that I thought that I would throw out there is variations to something as simple as this. So I hope that you will consider giving this a thumbs up. I hope that you will consider subscribing to Angela Shows You if you haven't already, so that you don't miss any future content. Happy sewing!